There is a crow in your neighborhood who remembers someone who wronged them. Not vaguely, not as a generalized wariness toward humans, as a specific individual permanent memory of a specific person, their face, their walk, the sound they make, the particular way they move through the world. A memory attached to a specific event that happened at a specific time and that has been carried without fading in the crow's mind ever since. You may have heard this before. The crow's ability to remember human faces is one of the most widely reported facts in popular wildlife science. It has been in the news, in the nature documentaries, in the articles that pass around the internet. Everyone knows crows remember faces. But knowing that crows remember faces is not the same as understanding what that memory actually contains. What it feels like from the inside of a crow's experience to carry a grievance across years. What it costs, what it produces, what it does to the social world of a crow family when one member of it has been wronged by a specific human. And most importantly, what happens next. Because the memory is not the remarkable part, the memory is the beginning. What crows do with that memory is the part no one has fully told you, until tonight. Welcome back to Hidden Backyard Wildlife, the channel where we sit with the small wild lives that share our yards and try to understand what they understand about the world. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe before this video is over, because what you are about to learn is going to permanently change the way you look at every crow you pass on the street, because you will finally understand that the look they give you is not casual. It has never been casual. Today we are walking through 8 things crows remember about every person who has ever wronged them. What those memories reveal about the extraordinary social and cognitive world of the crow. And why the bird you have been walking past without a second thought has been watching you with a level of attention and a depth of memory that most people have never stopped to understand. Stay with me from beginning to end, because behavior number 6 is the one that researchers spent years confirming before they were willing to publish it, because they could not quite believe what they were seeing. And the final one, number 8, is the one I think will stay with you the longest, especially the next time a crow on a wire looks at you a little longer than you expected. The first thing a crow remembers about a person who wronged them is the face. Not a general impression, not a category. The specific face, the particular arrangement of features, the specific proportions, the individual characteristics that distinguish one human face from every other human face that crow has ever seen. This has been established beyond scientific doubt through research that is now widely cited but whose implications are still not fully absorbed by most people who read about it. Researchers at the University of Washington, led by John Marsluff, conducted controlled studies in which volunteers wearing specific masks handled wild crows in ways the birds found aversive, while other masked volunteers in the same area handled the crows neutrally or not at all. The crows did not just remember that the masks were associated with aversive handling. They retained specific recognition of those specific faces for the entire duration of the study, scolding, dive bombing, and alerting other crows specifically to the presence of the dangerous mask wearer while ignoring the neutral mask wearers entirely. But this understates the finding. The retention was documented across years. The specificity was not degraded by time. And critically, the crows who had not personally been handled, who had only learned about the dangerous face through the alarm behavior of other crows who had been handled, showed the same specific recognition responses. She knows the face of the person who wronged her. She has known it since the moment it was encoded fully, completely, permanently. She would recognize it at a distance. She would recognize it in different lighting. She would recognize it through a car window. She has not forgotten a single feature of it, and she never will. The face is in her memory the way the faces of the people who matter most to you are in yours, with the permanence reserved for things that were important enough to keep. The crow's memory of the wrong is not just facial recognition attached to a general negative valence. It is the full episodic memory of the event, the sequence, the context, the specific actions involved. Researchers studying episodic-like memory in corvids have found that crows and their relatives demonstrate what scientists call what-where-when memory, the ability to recall not just what happened but the specific spatial context in which it happened and the temporal sequence of events. This is the same cognitive architecture that underlies human episodic memory. It is rare in the animal kingdom. Crows have it. She remembers what you did, the specific action, the sequence of it, whether it was sudden or gradual, whether it was accompanied by a specific sound or a specific object, whether it happened from above or below, from close range or distance, with hands or with a tool or with a vehicle. She remembers the context, the location, the time of day, the weather conditions that were present, the other elements of the environment that were part of the experience. Researchers who have worked with captive corvids report that these birds demonstrate clear behavioral evidence of recalling specific aversive events in their correct sequence and context, showing anticipatory distress responses to the specific components of those events when those components are recreated, even weeks and months after the original event. She does not just remember that you are dangerous, she remembers how you were dangerous. She remembers the specific thing that happened in the specific way that it happened with the specific you who made it happen. Every component of the event is in her memory, intact, accessible, used every time she sees your face again to make the specific decision about what to do next. This is the first thing most people do not know, and the one that immediately transforms the personal nature of the grievance into something larger. A crow that has been wronged by a specific human does not keep that information to itself. It broadcasts it. Through the alarm call system that is among the most sophisticated communication networks in the avian world, the wronged crow alerts every member of its family group, its mate, its offspring, the adult siblings and cousins that make up the complex social network of a crow family, to the specific threat posed by the specific individual who committed the wrong. Researchers studying information transmission in corvid family groups have found that crows demonstrate consistent behavioral responses to faces identified as threatening by other family members, even when they have never personally encountered those faces, through a process of social learning that involves specific alarm calls directed at specific individuals, combined with the observational learning that comes from watching a familiar family member's response to a specific human face. Her family has been told about you, not in the abstract, in the specific. They have been shown your face, they have learned your threat level, they have been given whatever information the crow's communication system allows about what you did and what response is appropriate. You wronged one crow, you are now known to her entire family. The social propagation of crow memory is one of the most extraordinary features of their cognitive world. A single event encoded by a single individual can become the property of an entire family group within hours, transmitted through the specific alarm behavior, the specific scolding posture, the specific alerting that says, this face, this person, this specific human is to be watched. Her family is watching you now, they have been since the day she told them. The wrong you did to one crow, the specific face you presented, the specific action you took, does not die with the crow who experienced it. It is transmitted. Crows engage in a form of cultural transmission of threat information that researchers are only beginning to fully understand. The social learning that passes information about dangerous human faces between adult family members also passes that information to the next generation of crows, to juveniles who were not present for the original event, who were not yet born when it happened, but who are taught about it through the sustained behavioral responses of the adults around them. Researchers studying multi-generational memory in corvids have documented that the alarm responses associated with specific human faces persist in crow families for multiple generations, with juvenile crows learning to identify and respond to specific human faces that were identified as threatening by their parents or grandparents, without any personal negative experience with those faces. A juvenile crow in your neighborhood may have learned your face from its parents, who learned it from their parents. The original event, the specific thing that happened to the specific crow who encoded the original memory, may have occurred before this juvenile was born. The memory has been transmitted across the gap of generations, and arrived in the nervous system of a bird who has never met you, and was taught to be wary of you before you had any idea anyone was paying attention. The wrong you did to one crow potentially outlasts the crow, not because the individual crow's memory is eternal, it is not, but because the information it contains is valuable enough to pass on, and crows pass on valuable information with a fidelity and consistency that exceeds anything we have given them credit for. She will not live forever, but what she knows about you may. The crow that remembers you does not simply remember you and move on. The memory is operational. It produces a specific, coordinated, socially distributed response every time the face it encodes appears in the crow's environment. The response is not random, not emotional in the simple sense of uncontrolled reactivity. It is organized. It involves specific signals that recruit specific responses from specific family members. It involves positional coordination, multiple crows positioning themselves in relation to the identified individual in ways that maximize the effectiveness of the response while minimizing risk to any individual bird. Researchers studying anti-predator and anti-threat coordination in corvids have found that crow groups show sophisticated spatial coordination in their responses to identified human threats, with individuals taking specific positions relative to the threat, making specific calls that contain directional and intensity information, and demonstrating apparent role differentiation in which some individuals vocalize while others reposition and others monitor escape routes. The response to your face when you walk through the neighborhood where this crow family lives is not one crow being upset. It is a coordinated operation. Multiple birds, specific positions, specific calls carrying specific information about threat level and location. The whole family activated by the specific face in its specific location, conducting a response that has been refined across multiple encounters to be as effective and as safe as possible. You have been, from the crow's perspective, the subject of an ongoing threat management protocol since the day the wrong was encoded. Every appearance you make in their territory activates that protocol. Every time you walk down that street, fly past that yard, park in that parking lot, the protocol runs. The positions are taken, the calls are made, the information is broadcast. You did not know you were being managed. You have been continuously since the first day. This is the one that researchers spent years confirming before they were willing to publish it, because it implies something about crow cognition that is deeply uncomfortable to accept as a scientific finding. Crows do not simply maintain a static threat response to identify dangerous humans indefinitely. They update it, they test it, they gather new information about whether the threat level associated with a specific face has changed, and they adjust their response accordingly. Researchers studying the longitudinal dynamics of crow threat responses have found that crows demonstrate what appears to be periodic reevaluation behavior in response to previously identified threatening individuals, approaching closer than their established threat response distance, observing the behavior of the identified human in current conditions, and showing behavioral evidence of comparing current observations against the stored threat model. She watches you when she sees you, not just to alarm, to watch. She observes how you currently behave, whether you still move in the ways associated with the original threat, whether the specific behavioral signature that was dangerous before is still present, whether the threat level should be maintained, elevated, or, and this is the part that took researchers years to accept, reduced. Crows have been documented reducing their threat responses to specific individuals over time when those individuals consistently demonstrate non-threatening behavior in subsequent encounters. The memory does not go away. The stored event does not get deleted, but the threat level assigned to it can be recalibrated by subsequent evidence. She remembers the wrong you did. She will always remember it, but she is also watching whether you are still the same person who did it. She is gathering evidence, she is updating the model. And in the particular way that this matters, the way that says something unexpected about what crows are capable of, she is doing something that functions like giving you a chance. Not forgiveness, something more practical than forgiveness and more sophisticated than a simple grudge. A data-based ongoing assessment of whether the threat you represented then is the threat you represent now. She remembers, and she is watching to see if you have changed. The crow's memory of the wrong includes spatial information that is encoded with the same permanence and specificity as the facial information. She knows where it happened, the specific location in her territory where the wrong occurred, the specific landscape features that characterize that location, the tree line, the building, the road, the position of the sun, the acoustic signature of that particular place. All of it encoded as part of the memory of the event. And the location matters, because the location is where she is most alert. The location is where the threat model is most activated. The location is where, even if the specific face does not appear, the accumulated memory of what happened there produces a heightened state of vigilance in every crow who knows about the event. Researchers studying spatial aspects of corvid threat memory have found that crows show elevated threat response behaviors in the specific locations associated with negative experiences, maintaining a spatial memory of dangerous locations that persists for extended periods and produces specific behavioral changes in their use of those areas. She avoids certain movements in certain locations. She is more vigilant in certain places. She positions her family group differently when they are in the vicinity of the place where it happened. The location is part of the memory, and the memory informs how she uses the space, all the space in her territory, and especially the space where the wrong occurred. Your address, if it is the place where the wrong happened, is encoded in her spatial memory as specifically as your face is encoded in her facial memory. She knows where you live. She has known since the first day. and every crow in her family knows it too. I have saved this one for last, because it is the one I think will stay with you the longest. The crow's extraordinary memory for those who have wronged them exists alongside an equally extraordinary memory for something else entirely. Something that is rarely discussed when people talk about crow grudges because the grudge is the dramatic story and the other thing is quieter. The crow remembers kindness. With the same specificity, the same permanence, the same social transmission that characterizes their memory for wrongs, crows remember the faces, the behaviors, and the specific actions of the people who have treated them well, who left food, who did not disturb, who moved away from the nest at the right moment, who did not react when the crow came close or reacted gently or gave something, even something as small as a piece of bread on a winter morning, without asking for anything in return. Researchers studying positive social learning in corvids have found that crows show the same individual-specific recognition patterns in response to positive human behavior as they show in response to negative behavior, maintaining specific positive associations with specific human faces that produce specific behavioral responses including reduced alarm distance, increased proximity tolerance, and the particular crow behavior that most people who have experienced it describe as being checked on. A crow that has decided you are kind will come back. Not to all humans, to you, the specific you whose face is encoded in the category of people who have been worth being near. She will watch you from a closer distance. She will alarm less when you are present. She will, over time, allow a proximity that she does not allow with other humans, the particular closeness of a wild animal that has made a specific decision about a specific person based on the accumulated evidence of that person's behavior. And she will tell her family, she will teach her young. She will pass on the information that this specific face, this specific person, this specific human in this specific part of the world is safe. Not all humans, not humans in general, you. That is not a story about crow grudges. That is a story about what it means to be known by something that does not know you casually, about the particular weight of being evaluated continuously by an intelligence that is paying closer attention than you ever realized, about the specific individual permanent way that crows hold the people in their world, with the particular exactness of a memory that does not soften and does not lie. She has been watching you for longer than you know, building a file that is more accurate than anything you have presented on purpose, reading the evidence of what you actually are, not what you intend, not what you think you present, but what you actually do when you are moving through the world and no one is watching. Someone has always been watching. She has been watching. And what she has concluded about you, safe or dangerous, kind or harmful, worth being near or worth driving away, is already encoded, already filed, already transmitted to every crow in her family, already being taught to her young, already part of the particular way the crows in your neighborhood understand the particular human who walks through their world at a specific hour, with a specific walk, with a specific face that she has known by now for a very long time. You have been seen completely, specifically, permanently, by something that does not forget what it sees. Before I go, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer in the comments below. Have you ever had a crow look at you in a way that felt specific? Not the general wariness of a wild bird near a human, but something more directed, the particular attention of an animal that has looked at you before and has something filed under your face. Have you ever been followed or scolded or watched from a particular wire on a particular street in a way that felt like more than coincidence? Tell me about it. Where were you? What were they doing? What did it feel like to be on the other side of that attention? The stories this hidden backyard wildlife community shares are some of the most extraordinary I read every week, and every single one of them matters. If anything in this video changed the way you will look at the crows in your neighborhood, share it with someone who would understand. Sometimes the right perspective at the right moment changes what we notice for the rest of our lives. Thank you for being here at Hidden Backyard Wildlife. The next time a crow looks at you from a wire, really looks at you, in that particular sustained way, know that the look has a history. There is a file somewhere behind those eyes, and in it, everything they have decided about you is exactly as true as what you have actually done. Act accordingly. I will see you in the next one.